the platforms that we currently use, which is LinkedIn. So basically, the session that we are going to have is, I divided it on 2 topics. One, we are going to discuss your brand and how you can brand your uniqueness. And then after the break, we're going to have a break for some questions. We're going to talk about LinkedIn. How can we apply these things on LinkedIn? So basically, we have a lot of information to share in this period of 1 hour. And I want you to give some highlights to you and some takeaways, because it's important to clarify some of the aspects that we have here right now. First of all, I like to use this slide to present myself because we are professionals and we need to be very professional when we are talking about professional networks. And LinkedIn is one of them. LinkedIn is our digital card where people interact with LinkedIn, and where they know us before get to know us personally. So it's very important to think about how we position ourselves and how we position our brand and our value to in this case, to the world through LinkedIn. So what I want to start sharing with you is what I call the identity crisis. Can you answer the question, who the hell I am? Probably you can say, yes, well, Nelson, I can. I can tell you who I am. But do you really know? Do you really know the value that you provide to others? Do you really know what is the perception they have from you? Do you really know what do you stand for? Can you send me an email 15 minutes after the end of this webinar saying what you represent, who you are? And probably you're going to have a surprise, because you have difficulties to get that information. We are used to see a lot of things, and we tend to use more or less the same words. We tend to adapt our thinking even about ourselves, and we tend to use and mimic other people and try to identify our characteristics based on what we mirror from them. You see, there is so much noise, so many things happening every day online and offline, so many people trying to do similar kind of things that we do, that at the end of the day, well, we look like the same. Everybody will be the same. Everything that we say will be more or less the same. It's like these two apples. Basically, they are different, of course. They have different tastes. They have probably different texture. But they have, well, one leaf to the left, the other to the right, but they have different colors. And you are going to choose one of these apples, if I ask you to choose one, based on color, based only on one variable. You don't try to get more information about it, because not only you don't have time, but you already know what is an apple. You already have a preconception about an apple. So for this apple, it's difficult to explain to the audience what is the value of the red apple, what is the value of the green one, and what is the best in order for us to take a good decision. So the difficulty for us is more or less the same one that is from these apples. We have difficult to communicate. Our challenge is to really communicate what makes us different, the value of our uniqueness, and also to get our clients, our colleagues, and our managers to really understand what is the transformation that we bring to the table. But as everyone is presenting magic formulas to do that, it's quite difficult also to have the real thing. You find a lot of coaches, a lot of speakers, a lot of managers, a lot of companies saying that if you buy from me, you will be transformed in 5 days. You will be a huge speaker, a great speaker, only in 1 month. But there is no magic formulas. Things they take time. They have a huge effort for us to adjust our message and also to get our message to the right persons. Also, there will be a lot of them that will explain, okay, there are the guys with the magic formulas, but I have the 5 steps to success. I have the 7 steps to effective leadership. And they will say that if you follow that steps, if you follow everything that they are saying, you will achieve your goals. But you see, the variable here is us. Every one of us, we are different. Every one of us have different qualities. Every one of us have different approaches. Every one of us has different needs. And these standard things, these magic formulas, they don't work. They might work for these persons, but they don't work for us because they are not adaptable. Or some of them, they don't consider the only variable, which is the most important, that's the people that are going through that. So because everyone is doing these kind of approaches, everyone is trying to mimic other things they see and hear, that our message will get diluted along with our differentiator and our value. Instead of getting people to ask us more about what we do and how can we help them, normally, well, they don't do that, because if we say, okay, I'm a coach, they already know what a coach is, or I'm an executive coach, or I'm an inspirational speaker. They probably ask you what kind of speeches, type of speeches do we do besides the inspirational, so in terms of subject matter, in terms of topics. But, well, you see, people are having a lot of information. There is a lot of noise. People trying to do things that we have as a good speakers and as a good professionals, we have difficult to go through this noise. I know there is amazing people doing things out there, and probably you are among of them. But if no one can understand why they should work with you and why they should hire you, you will get lost in this noise. There will be no opportunities because you will be one more professional, one more person presenting something that they probably already know. They probably saw on TV, on a newspaper, or on a friend. So there is a huge need to translate our essence of who we are in words, in images, also in experience that we can create for people that want to be our clients. We want to create to our company, to our colleagues, to people that we interact with. So we need to connect not only what they need, but what do we have to offer them in a very, truly authentic way. So because when people can feel you through what you are doing and through what you are creating, these things will create a new level of relationship. People just don't buy things based on the technology, based on the characteristics, based on the functionality of products or services that you sell. They buy based on who you are, on what you tell them and show them, based on how you make them feel when they interact with you. And that will shift the way we do business from what we call it in the past, a niche, to another way of doing things. In the past, people were obsessed by creating niches. Basically, they try to understand what do you do, who you serve, what is the unique thing you have to sell to them. But now we live in a world where people matter even more. What we need to do is we need to focus on give to them what they really want, what they care about, what they like. So we are moving from what we call it a niche, what we call it niche markets, to what I like to call a tribe. A tribe is a special kind of people that you attract in what you do. So you want to attract people that resonates with you, resonates with your message, that share your value, that believe in what you believe. And that is the kind of people we want to work with. And also, that is the kind of people that we love to work with us. We cannot have a message that fits to everyone. We cannot be liked by everyone, but we can be loved by a few. And that's the real difference. If we don't do the effort to be liked by everyone, but we be ourselves, and being ourselves, we have a few people that love us, these people will spread the word. They are not going also to be only our clients. They are not going to be our colleagues. They are not going to be our bosses, our employees, but they will spread the word because they will like what we do. They like the impact that we have in their lives. So we need to focus on the tribe. We need to focus on these people. So there is a need
for you to become more congruent in the way that you present yourself, both online and offline. So people can hear you, they can feel you, and they can understand you in different channels when you share your message. It can be on Facebook, on LinkedIn, when you are presenting yourselves. It can be on a podcast, it can be on a YouTube video, it can be on a Toastmasters session. But you need to be congruent in a way that you are communicating your value. It's not enough to be awesome in what you do. There is also no need to be a showman. It's really about what you are and what you allow people to feel when you interact with them. And do you know the secret for that? So you need to do one very important thing. Just be you. Just be authentic. Authenticity is the key to everything. If you spread it, and you will get known for sure, because you are showing the best you have. You are showing your true you. So it's not about having skills and expertise and lock yourself in a room and also create a lot of the stuff without everyone knowing. So it's not, as I call it here in Portugal, is not to be the best knowledge guy in your city, because you can be the best one, but if no one knows about it, it doesn't matter. So you are going to be also lost in the middle of the unknown people that has a huge capabilities to help others. So that's why the most important thing of all is not what you know, is not what you create, is not who you know, but who you are. And that's the most important thing. And the biggest thing that differentiates you in the marketplace, it's who you are. You see, people do business with people. They don't do business with companies. You try to think about it, because many people I know, and also when I worked in the past companies, I thought that the company opened a lot of doors. And that's true. But people will buy because of you. They will buy because of your commitment. And sometimes you have a higher price than your competitors, and they will still buy from you because you deliver. You promise and you deliver. You put your reputation at stake. And when we do that, people will for sure do more business with us. They do business with people. They do business with you. So the way you present yourself tells a lot about who you are and what you value. People don't choose a coach because the coach is certified or have like 10 certifications and 2 degrees. They choose a coach because they feel something from that coach. Because people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And when you can feel someone's heart, when you can feel what they believe and what they value, that's when you make the choice. That's when you choose to work with them. And that's what makes the difference. The transformation from talking about your business, your products and your services and your knowledge and your expertise to just being yourself. To talk about things that matters to you. Otherwise you will sound like a company who is doing marketing, for example, versus the human being talking about his or her singularity. It's important to explain how we feel when we use the product, how we feel when we use the service, how people feel when they use things that we do. Because at the end of the day, we want to differentiate ourselves, not only by having the same kind of messages that other has, but by having information that is valuable to anyone that interacts with us. And what we see today in the market is that there are many people that suffer from what I called the aloe vera effect. And you might think, okay, but Nelson, what is the aloe vera effect? Well, aloe vera usually is used to solve many things. So many things regarding, for example, skin disease, hair, and a lot of other things. So aloe vera is a product that can be used to solve any kind of problems. And people sometimes, they suffer of aloe vera. So when they present themselves, they present them in a way that is exactly the same thing that the previous person presented.
with some adjustments. Or sometimes they go to internet and they get information how to create a wonderful LinkedIn profile, and they are basically using the same kind of words and the same kind of jargon, for example, to explain to others what they do and what they can, how they can provide value. So the first thing is we cannot be good to about all the things. We need to identify in our profile, in ourselves, what can we do very well, better than others, and then we can identify secondary options, secondary things that we also do well, not very well as the first one, but that can be used to leverage the first one. Additionally, we can suffer also the Calimero effect. And people in Italy, for sure, they know Calimero better than me. And one of the sentences that Calimero used is that everything happens to him. So, and that's an injustice. To everything that happens to him is an injusticia. And I don't know exactly how to say it in Italian, but it's more or less the same thing. So basically, people tried to create a profile with almost anything because, well, they know that others do things better than them, and they are not showing their value, so they undervalue themselves. And they think that well, everything that happens bad to them, it's well, their fault. It's of course, but it's the world that conjures something, and everything that happens bad happens to him. And the third effect is the Elvis effect. And the Elvis effect is when people think that, okay, I'm the best, I'm better than everyone else, and basically they try to identify good skills and characteristics with that they see in others, and basically they copy that characteristics. So they tried to identify them and try to be equal or try to be the same. And as you see in this picture, this is a contest for probably the best Elvis that I found on the internet. And of course, none of them are similar to Elvis, because Elvis is one of a kind, like we are. So we are all unique persons with unique talents, with unique advantages and disadvantages that we can try to leverage. So what do we need to do when we are talking about presenting ourselves and branding ourselves? First of all, we don't need to appear as the best in the class if we are at the end only one more. So sometimes when we present ourselves, mainly in this case LinkedIn, but also in other social networks like Facebook, we try to show more than what we are. And that's not following authenticity. That's not following what we really are, and try to leverage that. So, and you can see here some of the examples. Sometimes this is a picture from Instagram, but in reality, this is not what happened. So people try to catch the best angles to take like a selfie or to take a picture of something they are doing, instead of doing what I call the real authentic videos, the real authentic pictures, as we are. So taking a picture as like doing a training in a classroom or doing a video, wherever you are. Another example, so we see someone here doing an exercise, but in reality, she's being helped by another person. And that's what happens more in our society. So people try to show more things, to show to present themselves in a way that is not authentic, and to because they think they will earn more. They think they can get a job by doing that. They think they will attract more clients by doing that. But they are, in my perspective, completely wrong. Because you see, if we are not authentic, sooner or later people will find out. They will not feel what we are saying. They will not feel what we are doing. And when they look for authenticity in everything that we do, if they don't feel that, they will not work with us. They will not they will not identify themselves with us, and they don't want to be part of our tribe. So when we are talking about branding, it's important for you to get several concepts, several takeaways regarding concepts, very important concepts. First of all, our brand, because I'm talking about brand. And first, we are not a product. We have a brand, and we leave a mark on others. And our brand basically is our essence. Everything that defines us and everything that defines you, our qualities, our defects, things that we need to improve, our behavior, everything that we do is our essence, is our brand. We can work on it and we can improve it, but we cannot create a brand. That's for products, not for people. So as soon as we're born, we start getting input from the outside world that shape us, that create our personality. And then that's our brand being shaped along the path until we die. Now, we can't control that, of course, but we have characteristics that were that came from our genes, from our fathers, and others that came along in the school with our friends and people that we get along. But everything that defines us is our essence and is our brand. Secondly, self-marketing. And self-marketing is a word that we can hear a lot in social media, and not only. And self-marketing is only a way to promote our brand. It's our promotion. And we can promote it in social media or not. So we can promote it online and offline. But it's only a way to choose our channels to promote what we do, what we are, and the value that we provide to others. Because in every interaction that we have with others, we leave a part of us on it. So if we think about only promotion, we are taking the most important part when we are talking about branding. And the third one is personal branding. And personal branding is management, is conscious process and of managing our brand, the value that we give to others, and choosing the right channels to promote it. So if we could put it in only one slide, basically we have our brands in the center, our essence, our personal brand. In the second level, we will have the self-marketing, which is basically the promotion of our value. And on top of it, or around it, we have the personal branding, which is the management, the constant management of our brand. And what happens in most professionals that we don't manage our brand. We don't define strategies to our brand. And sometimes you might think, okay, but Nelson, this is okay to do. Can we create the strategy? Is not doing something that is not authentic? Completely wrong. Because if we don't know ourselves, we don't know the perception that other people have from us, we cannot manage and letting others to manage. So if you enter in a training, if you go to a meeting, automatically people are getting or receiving or creating, in this case, creating a perception from you. Because it's immediately. We start creating perceptions as soon as we see someone or in the video or in a room. And then our perception will be confirmed, or we create another perceptions as soon as people start talking. And as soon as they also start behaving in a specific way. So if we don't understand what is the perception we leave, or we don't control it when we enter in a room, we are letting others to manage that. So it's very important in a personal branding process as us as a brand to understand what others think about us. Because we don't do business with companies, we don't do business with products, we don't do business with services, we do business with people. And people interact with people. People buy from people. And if we buy based on the perception that we have from others, we need to understand what is the perception we leave and how can we manage that. And we can do that in the personal branding process. And then we can define a strategy, because sometimes when we are talking with someone, you discover that the other person sees you as, for example, a very flexible professional, someone that has high knowledge in a specific area. But if you don't see yourself that, you are losing opportunities. You are losing a way to do something even better than you do, because you are not leveraging what others already saw on you. So when we are talking about personal branding, we are talking about a road to reputation, which is basically supported by the trust that we have from others, the credibility, the reliability that will end up on reputation. So the perception that others have from us, and then by the expectation they have from what we can give to them, and then our continuous work to prove that the perception they have is correct and we can deliver what we promise, we will end up with reputation. But we also can change this, and I will give you an example. And sometimes people know this gentleman, others they don't. But at the end, probably you all will know who is this gentleman. This gentleman, of course, by the picture you see that is old. He was responsible for creating or invented for 355 patents. One of the patents was dynamite. And dynamite, when he created dynamite, he didn't create dynamite to take lives. He created dynamite with other purpose, but at the end, dynamite was used, and is still used sometimes, for killing people. So due to this result, he was given the name of the Merchant of Death. And he was not aware that people, not only in his town, but also in his country and outside, identify him as the Merchant of Death due to this invention he created. And once he picked up the newspaper, and he sees in the cover of the newspaper a title and headline saying, "The Merchant of Death is dead," or "The Merchant of Death died," something like that. And he was astonished because, first of all, he was alive. Secondly, he discovered that people were giving him a name that it was not correct. When, by the way, he was not the one that he died, right? But it was his twin brother. His twin brother died the day before. And as people identify only one, which is this man, they thought that was the Merchant of Death that really died. So, but he was very surprised, because he was not aware that people gave him this name, and for him was a huge shock. So he decided to change the history, and he decided to prove people that in reality everything that he did was focused on the good and not on the bad. And he invests his money and also tried to change his reputation, and he created what it's called now the Nobel Prize. And the Nobel Prize is not one Nobel Prize, it's several Nobel Prizes for physics, for chemistry, philosophy, or medicine, because it's alternated, literature, and the one that most people know, the Nobel Prize of Peace. And yes, this gentleman is Alfred Nobel. So you see that someone that creates something that was used in a bad way and that gave him a bad name of Merchant of Death, he managed to change not only the perception that people had from him, but also everything around what he did. And now no one knows Alfred Nobel as the Merchant of Death. They know Alfred Nobel as someone that created a prize that honored people that helped to save lives. And that's what one of the things we can do also. We can change the perception that others have from us. We can change the reputation. Sometimes we can change the good reputation to a bad one almost instantly. But to change something, it takes time. It takes not only time, but also it takes a very important thing, which is I need to know myself, what I do, and what is the value I'm giving to others. And that's what most professionals don't know. So my question to you, and this is like a homework, and I want you to think about it. And if you want to, you can call me, you can write me an email, whatever you want. My first question to you is, what do you stand for? What do I stand for? So do I stand for a highly respectable professional? What do I stand for? It's important to understand. And probably probably something came up to your mind, so write it down. Otherwise, you can think about it and what do you stand for? And one of the things you can do is you can ask to others. Ask your family, your friends, your colleagues, your boss. If you have a team, members of your team, your clients, your business partners, ask everyone what do you stand for, what they think you stand for. Because if you don't know, and if the answers from many of the people that you ask are completely different, then you have a problem. You have an identity crisis. So you don't know what you stand for, and you are not showing also anything to others. Or you know, but you are not consistently, you are not congruent to when you pass when this information to others. And the other two questions I want you to answer is what makes you different from others? What makes you different from your colleagues? You see, if we don't know what makes us different from others, then we have another problem. First, we are all unique, that's sure. But if we don't know why I'm better or different, better or different is two different things, but why I'm better than my competition in a specific area, we will have a problem. If you are a coach, for example, a coach, it doesn't matter if you have like 10 certifications and 2 master degrees. Usually people, they don't care. What they really care is how do you make them feel? Because there is a sentence that people don't care unless you start caring. So they don't care of what you know, and unless you care. Oh, I don't know the sentence, but it's something like that. So people don't care if you know until you care about them. So, or you don't care about them. So if you care about people, it doesn't matter if you have a certification or not, if you have a master's degree, it doesn't matter the field. Of course, it's important technically to implement things, but usually people choose others due to what they see, what they feel when they interact, what is the shared values they have, what are the ideas they have, because we go along with people that has the same beliefs, the same ideas, the same values that we have. The second question is how it resonates with other people, so which is related to what I've been talking to you right now. So if you are known by something and you have a differentiator, so how it resonates with other people? Do they see that on you? Do they value that? Or you are presenting things as one person more? So this is 3 questions I want you to think about it in order to, well, to start thinking about you and asking others how they see you, how they perceive you, which can be a 4th question. How they perceive you, it's also important, because if the perception they have from you is not aligned with your internal perception, again, you will have a problem. And all of these can be used then to be applied on our communication. In, for example, Toastmasters, how do we communicate with others when we are networking? How do we deliver our speeches? What is our style? Also online, how do we present ourselves online? What kind of words do we use? What kind of pictures, colors do we use? Again, in a meeting, so how do I present myself to others? How do I speak to others? How do I interact with them? So this is important things that we need to answer when we are talking about branding yourselves. So if you don't know what is really unique, and I will say different from you compared to others, we will have a problem when we are presenting ourselves. So we can now have time for questions, and then go for how can we leverage this online. First, in this case on LinkedIn, how can we change things on LinkedIn? How can we present ourselves on LinkedIn? But this was an highlight I wanted to give you about this, and I want you to think about yourself. First important thing and most important thing, always based on authenticity. Today people lack of authenticity. Okay? I have here some questions. I'm going starting from the bottom. From Fabio Rigamonti, how do we know our others truly perceive us? Well, the best way to do it is anonymously. So when I start personal branding processes, I work with more than one survey, so questionnaires, to ask people how do they perceive you. And the thing is, well, even sometimes they know it's anonymously, they are responding anonymously, they lie. Because if you ask someone that you know, oh, can you tell me how do you perceive me? They can be honest, but sometimes they are afraid to say something that might hurt you. Or they might be affected by a recent situation, positively or negatively, and they will say something that can be more nice than it should be, or worse than it should be. So that's why it's important first to ask to many people in different areas. How do they perceive you? How do they see you? What is the value you give to them? Okay. Francesca, any suggestions for me to go in Milan market if I'm an easygoing and content-oriented, and in Milan we are so fashion? Well, first of all, it's important to not to lose your identity, and sometimes we are afraid to be ourselves because we think, okay, we think that if we are ourselves. So if I'm myself when I'm in a meeting and I, for example, when I dress in a different way, or if I say something in a different way, I might think, okay, people will look at me with a strange look. Because sometimes we are taught when we are young that we don't need to show more than we are, and sometimes when in the school when we answer a lot of questions, and probably because we know them, other kids start looking to us and say, come on, you are the star of the class, and you are making us less intelligent than you. But, well, that's their problem. It's not our problem. We are being us. It's important to feel. Of course, it's important to feel comfortable what we do. But if we are different from anyone, sometimes that is what makes the difference. People will remind you. Probably, if you have, for example, a different way of dressing, you have a different way of presenting things, because they will remind you. If the content is valuable and also the way you present it is important, they will remember you in a different way. I give an example. Once I was speaking in a marketing event in the north of Portugal, and they said to me, Nelson, we want you to make a difference in the event. And I was talking about personal branding. And my idea was to talk about personal branding connected to skydiving. That's one of the things I do a lot. And as Andrea said, sometimes I'm trying to convince people to skydive. But in this event, what I did was not only I had my PowerPoint slides adjusted to skydiving and to connect to the world of searching a job, the world of corporate environment and all that stuff, and talking about personal branding, but I was dressed as a skydiver. I had my skydiving suit, helmet, everything. And at the end, they didn't remember my name, but they remembered there was the guy dressed as a skydiver that gave them these kind of messages. So it's important sometimes to make the difference and have the courage to be different. And sometimes the courage to be you. That's it. So Elena say, does the way other perceive us, have to do only with us or with their personal biases too? Yes, of course, we look to people through our own glasses. So if we see someone completely different than us, sometimes we don't take time to think, why is this person doing things in a different way, because me and others are looking to him in a different perspective. So, and yes, we tend to mirror ourselves in others. And if I don't do something, if other person does it, it might be awkward for him to do it because I don't do it. So I don't understand why this person did something. Also, Andrea said, following Lena's question, what if our differences doesn't resonate with other people? Well, that's life. That's called life, because we cannot please everyone. It's completely impossible. So we need to be focused, and sometimes this needs to be trained. We need to be focused in what do I do well? How do I see myself? And how can I show others who am I? What is the value I provide to them? And if they don't like it, that's okay, because probably they don't like it. But then on the other side, we have people that love us. And that's the tribe. Tribe sometimes is wrongly understood. And when you enter in a tribe, it can be a real tribe in Africa, for example, you will see that people cooperate among them. They love them, all the members. They understand all the members, and above all, they accept all the members. And that's the important thing. We need first to accept ourselves. If we accept ourselves, then we can be ourselves in any place we want. Of course, we need to adjust things. For example, if I'm going to a meeting in a bank, probably I'm going to wear a suit and a tie. But in other places, I'm not going to wear a tie because that's not me. Probably I'm going to wear a suit because I'm a more formal guy in most situations, but not always. Because in the beginning, when I started teaching, I had the need to show myself as a respect, to earn the respect from older people that were in a room. So I was 20-something, and I had people with like 40, sometimes 50, with deep knowledge on technology, and I was there to teach them, to share my knowledge in software, in technology. And of course, they tried to test me because they wanted to see if I had the right knowledge to teach them something, because supposedly as they were like 20, 30 years older than me, they supposedly had more knowledge than me. But I did my homework. I study a lot. I not only study, but I used the technology, and I went deeply to understand everything. And the only thing was not the technical part. So from the technical aspect, for me was okay, was me feeling that I supposedly were there and I was the one that was there to teach. So I had to use tie, I had to use a suit, and I had some complex about being not the knowledgeable people, the knowledgeable person there in the room. So, and then I discovered that, well, that's not the suit that makes me. It's what I know and what I transmit to others. And that's an important thing. We are what we do when we want to achieve something. It's not our results that dictates who we are. It's what we are when we are doing something to achieve those results. Because in a corporate world, for example, you can achieve your quota at the end of the month, but the next month you are the worst guy in the company because you didn't achieve at least 10%, for example. And you are the same person. You are not completely different. So it's important to first accept you and then show others. So I think that Julia said, I think that we should choose the style that we feel most comfortable with, our own identity, right? As with our speeches, we should be genuine. Exactly, Julia. We should choose our style. We can, what we can do is we can model. So model is a concept where we identify specific characteristics of someone, and we want to adopt that characteristics on us. So we model the behavior. We understand why he's doing that and how he's doing that or she doing that, and then we try to model it. But it's not doing exactly the same thing. It's adapted to our own way of living, on our own way of communicating, or our own way of doing things. So first, we need to identify who am I, what I stand for, what is my value, what others sees on me, and how can we then fill this gap. So let me continue, because I want to share something with you regarding, oh, my mouse is not working, regarding, if you have more questions, you can contact me. So feel free to contact me by email. Think then we are going to share, Andres are going to share by Facebook, LinkedIn, wherever. One of the things, or one of the places where we can present ourselves is on LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, people will interact with us without knowing us. What I mean by that, LinkedIn is our digital handshake. So today, most people I know, and that's one of the things I do, when I'm going to have a meeting with someone, I'm going to access to LinkedIn to see who is the person, which kind of connections do we have in common, also what is subjects is interesting in, or she's interested in. So LinkedIn is today my main professional tool to understand who are the persons I'm going to interact with, and also to find them, to understand how they write their own profile, and to understand how can I interact with them. And when we are on LinkedIn, and if you don't have a LinkedIn profile, please create one as soon as possible, because we have now more than 520 million users worldwide, and it's the biggest professional network in the world. I hire people in the past through LinkedIn. I was hired 2 times, so my 2 job changes were through LinkedIn, and today, more than, I will say, 70% of my business comes from LinkedIn. So in LinkedIn, you need to think that this is your professional profile. And as a professional profile, we need to think that we are going to present ourselves to others, and we need to find out the best way to do it. And I'm going to share the LinkedIn window to show you some things very important regarding LinkedIn. So this is, I hope you are seeing my LinkedIn. So this is our home page regarding LinkedIn. And when people access to our profile, what they will see is immediately our picture. And this is what we call the top card. So the top card is composed by this image that we have on top, our image, our name, our role, where we studied, and 2 lines of the summary. This is our digital business card. So if they look to you and these pictures don't seem professional, probably they will discard you. When we search something, for example, if I'm going to search for Andreas, like if I can use Andreas as a guinea pig, I don't know. Tell me, Andreas, if it's okay to use it as guinea pig. If not, well, my problem will be find your name, last name. But well, let's see if I can.
Very easy. Haji Sophocleus.
It's easy for you. But let's Andreas adds. Oh, wait. It's just an example. So okay, I think I already discovered you, but I'm going to do a search. And when we do a search on LinkedIn, we will see these results. And we will look immediately to the picture. So for example, the second person has no picture, I will probably not enter in his profile. Or if he or she send me an email, to a connection request, probably I'm not going to accept it. So it's important for us to have a good picture, professional picture. And today, in today's world, with our smartphones, we can take good pictures. You only have to have a white background behind. So what is the rest of your name, Andreas? Can you Ajish is off. Let me see if I can okay. Are you this one without a picture? Okay, you have a picture. For example, my perspective, Andrea's picture, it's good, but we cannot see clearly his face. And this the first thing that we connect to is to a face. It's important when we are branding ourselves on LinkedIn to have a good picture where people can see your face clearly as isolated from the background. Second thing, this area, which we call it the headline. And the headline is the place where we will call the attention to others in the search engine. So now Andrea said that I'm a director at AGS Insurance and fellow and startup organizer, blah, blah, blah. Is interesting. But what if Andreas explained in these 120 characters what is the value he can provide to others? For example, I'm changing all the time my headline, but now my headline is basically, I want to explain people that I'm a personal branding and leadership strategist. And then I said, okay, I discover your full potential and help you uncover your brand story. So people can see that I can help them in a way to help exploring this potential that they have. I don't explain to what, but then sometimes I change my headline to other things. And what is the result? Well, basically the result is if I appear in a search when they are looking for professional branding specialists or any other things, probably they will look to my picture and say, okay, this is it seems a nice guy or not, depends on the taste. But then they look to the headline and they probably connect with the headline. Now, some people, for them, the headline doesn't say anything, which is okay. And then we can try to test another headlines. For example, I do a lot of testing on my LinkedIn profile as I do LinkedIn training. And you can see, for example, here that I appeared 3,704 people viewed my profile in the last 90 days, which is good. But in terms of search, I appear only 335. But which means that I have now 9,000 connections on my LinkedIn, which is not a lot, which is not a few. This is 9,000, this is only a number. But people look to my profile, so they enter in my profile. And when they ask me a connection request, because or the picture says them something, it shows as a professional picture, or the headline is appealing, and for example, the summary is something that makes them understand what I do. And once again, I change the summary, which is the second part where we need to be very careful explaining what we do. So when we are talking about our LinkedIn profile, it's critical to explain to others, who am I? What do I do? How can I help people? With whom do I work? And then have a call to action for them to contact me. And it's more or less what I have here. We have 2,000 characters to brand ourselves in this summary. And this is, along with the headline, the most important part of our LinkedIn profile. So if you read my LinkedIn profile, you understand first what makes me different, and I clearly state that here. And because I want, in this case, I targeting the text to a specific type of companies, in this situation more corporations. With whom do I work? So I don't define a specific professional. I say that I work with professionals like you that want to explore their potential to be more successful. So, and what I'm passionate about, my experience includes, so, and highlight where I work with, and then I have call to action. So if you are serious about making a difference in your life and career, just contact me, and I have my contacts. In this summary, or sometimes the summary is enough to explain others what I can give to them. Additionally, when we are working on LinkedIn, we have our professional experience. And in a professional experience, we also need to explain how do we add value to our company, but also to others. And for example, here I personalized my introduction to the Singularism and Consulting role. So I say that I and I'm welcome, so I'm welcoming people. And I talk about the company, and then I talk about me. So I talk about what I do in this context inside the company. So this is a way to explain people not only a little bit about the company, but a little more about me. Then on the second part, and this is not optimized, this one, I say, okay, besides being the managing partner, I'm also a professional speaker and trainer. And I explain what I do as professional trainer. Also, I'm also a social selling trainer, LinkedIn trainer, and I will explain what I do. Also, additionally, as a personal brand strategy or personal brander, which is a professional that works on this area, what I do. So we can have on LinkedIn as many as entries as we want to explain others what we really do. And the areas where we can explain that is first, the title that we are using. So I'm not, you can see here that I'm not saying that I'm, for example, commercial director or sales manager in a specific area. No, what I do is here I say my role, co-founder and managing partner, but then I say I'm personal brander and leadership strategist. So you need to use a tool like LinkedIn to explain others what you do in a way that is easy for them to understand or create curiosity. And then when they enter in your profile, they have you give them a feeling about you. So you explain what you do. You humanize a LinkedIn profile, and that's one of the problems in many LinkedIn profiles. People used jargon, used common words that are spread around the LinkedIn profiles. For example, like I'm an overachiever, I'm a game changer, I'm a serial entrepreneur. All that kind of words are already overused, and they are not beneficiating your profile because they are not saying anything about you. It's a word that you might hear a lot, but they don't say anything about you. It's important to explain what you really do. What is your passion? How do you give value to others? Because LinkedIn profile is about you, but it's not for you. The LinkedIn profile is for others to understand what is the gain they will have when they work with you, period. And when they request a connection, for example, it's important to also give something, a taste that you are there to help them. As an example, I have here I have 9 connection requests, but when I accept a connection request, what I do is, okay, this is an offer from LinkedIn. Let me show here. What I do is first I will, for example, this lady, what I did was I accept the connection request. And what I'm saying here in Portuguese is basically, thank you for the connection request. It's a privilege to include you in my LinkedIn network. And then I ask a question. I say to her, what catch your attention in my profile to request the connection request? So why did she ask me a request? And then I say, okay, I'm available feel free to reach out in any of my areas of expertise and where you consider for me to be a value added. And then I say, have a nice week, and my name, and of course, I will give my sites, websites, and my phone number. And what this message says is, I'm not here to sell you anything. I'm thanking you for being part of your network, and feel free to reach out. But I want to understand, why did you ask me a connection? What in my profile made you request this kind of connection? And I have a lot of things. For example, here she said, okay, I'm a student of a person that I know, and she found my profile interesting. But for example, this lady say that she's a marketing enthusiast, passionate about coaching, so it's quite rich. But I have completely different responses, and sometimes only from this message I have business, only for contacting people, for be interested in them and not in how can I gain or earn money from them. So I create, usually what I do recommend people is try to understand what you stand for, how other people see you, pick up that information and include it in your communications, in your presentations. In your LinkedIn profile, use a headline that catch the attention for others by explaining them the value that you gave to them, and do also that here inside the summary, LinkedIn summary. This is not about having your curriculum online. It's about showing others what is the value that you can give to them. Okay, and then interact with them in this way. So this is one of the components that I'm going to go back again to the presentation. Just a moment. So this is the topics I advise you to include when you are writing your LinkedIn profile. So when you are branding you, when you are branding your uniqueness on LinkedIn. So who am I? What are my main characteristics? Give them information about you, the real you, not only the professional, the real you. So what do you do? What kind of products or services do you sell? But looking from the perspective of the client. Also, what kind of problems do you solve as a coach, as a software provider, wherever? What are your customers? Because if you don't say what are your customers, probably they think that they are not the potential customer for you. And how they can contact you, a call to action. But most important, though, because I'm finishing right now, the most important thing is when you interact with people, make the difference. And I like to use this sentence from a lady called Maya Angelou. People will forget what you say, what you said. People will forget what you did, but people will not forget how you made them feel. And that's what we need to do as a brand. We need to make other people feel well when they interact with us. It can be personally, it can be online, whatever channel we choose, it's important for them to feel that we are passionate about what we do, that we can really help them, that we can really give value to them in different ways. So identify what makes you unique, what do you stand for, and what others perceived about you, and leverage that. Live your true identity, your true self, and for sure you will have success. Do we have questions for this part? Because okay, Julian, that I agree, it's nice to personalize connections. Yes, well, sometimes I don't personalize my connection request if I just met someone, but I always try to personalize, because I send, for example, in a meeting, oh, I'm going to send you a connection request, and I just send, but I personalize not only the connection request, it's important, But when people accept my connection request, I thank you to them. This make the difference. When you thank other for accepting, it's great. Also, when they request, I also thank you them for the request. And I'm not trying to sell anything to them. And I already have many. Last night, I think there was a guy that I accept the connection request, and they send me a testament saying, "Oh, we want to save the world, and we invent this kind of product." And then he sent me 10 pictures about the product, and I was about to block him. Instead, I sent him a message saying, "Look, you are not going to sell anything in this kind of approach." Because people sometimes they accept our connection request, or when we accept their connection request, they send me a message saying, "Thank you," and they change only the name, and then "Thank you. Here is my presentation. My company does this and does that, and I want to schedule a meeting next Tuesday or next Thursday, or at 3 o'clock or 5 o'clock. Please choose one of these days." This is the old way of selling. LinkedIn is not about selling. LinkedIn is about creating connection with people. And we are all about creating connection. And when people feel that we are there to support them, to give them value, they will start asking, "What do you do? Explain." And then when we explain, say, "Oh, that's great. That might be interesting. It might make sense for me, but probably it does not make sense for me, but makes sense for someone that I know." Because we are not there to push. We are not there to sell. And remember, we are not our goals. We are not our metrics. We are what we do when we try to achieve something. And if we try to sell in a hard way, we are going to be perceived also as a pushy seller. And sometimes that's perfectly okay, because there are companies that want that kind of persons, and there are managers that want to work with this kind of persons. I don't. So, and many others don't. So everyone has people that will like them, that will like their behavior, that will like the way they do things, the way they are, and others don't. That's perfectly okay. Besides accepting ourselves, we need to accept that there are many people that will not like us, our speech, our message, and what we do. So we need to accept it. So thanks for the just changing the world. A great last week. I do have any advice on how can I like communication skills? Thank you. Oh, first of all, Toastmasters. Toastmasters, Irene, is please visit a club, any club in your city, and probably I would suggest to visit more than one club. Toastmasters is about developing leadership and communication skills in a way completely different from what the standard way. So we don't have a teacher. We do it, we learn by doing. We have people that are in the club in a continuous learning process. They are not comparing themselves to others. They are trying to improve themselves based on what they did in the previous speech. So the related field of study is completely indifferent. We sometimes in the beginning we don't even know what people do. So I will risk to say that I don't care what people do. They are there to learn. They are there to improve their communication leadership skills, and me too. So let's help each other. Then in the interaction, we will learn for sure what you do, what I do. We probably will see if it makes sense or not to work with you, or to recommend to you someone that might need your services. But that's not what Toastmasters is all about. Toastmasters is all about helping you to be a better leader and a better communicator. And have automation Toastmasters. Yes. Alfred. Saying, does it make any value to mention Toastmasters on our LinkedIn profile? Yeah. On my LinkedIn profile, you can see that I highlight it as an experience, and I have a lot inside Toastmasters, because LinkedIn in the past, they mentioned as job roles. So job roles is usually professionally roles. Now they replace it to experience. And experience means that anything where you work on that gives you experience, daily experience, and you apply it, it's a role that you can put on. For example, if you are a club officer, you need to manage conflicts. You need to provide guidance, you need to provide mentorship. So this is a role that you perform at least 6 months to 1 year. I would include it in LinkedIn profile. If you are an area director, the same thing, a division director, because these are leadership roles recognized by the industry. Now, in Europe, we are not as known as in the United States or in Canada, but we are growing a lot. So that's why we are splitting our district in three, because we grew a lot in last years. And with the introduction of pathways, the new learning program is more connected to what companies are looking for. So we are going to develop even more that are important to a company, which means they are going to value more Toastmasters. And they value right now. So there are countries where Toastmasters is important. And we have a lot of people saying, look, if I need to choose a Toastmaster or a non-Toastmaster person with the same kind of skills, I will choose a Toastmaster one, because they know that we train our leadership and communication skills. I didn't say, sorry, I was not clear. How can I highlight it on LinkedIn? Can you explain me, or can you tell me what do you want to highlight?
Yeah, sorry, I wasn't clear with my question. Actually, I was asking how I can highlight on my LinkedIn profile what I've done in Toastmasters, because it's what differentiates me from my colleagues, because I just graduated, so I have like zero experience on like my field of study, so engineering. But I've done Toastmasters and like public speaking for many years now. So
I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you in two places. First of all, experience. There's I was mentioned. Can you see my screen? Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. In the experience, you can mention. As I last 3 years, I was a part of the core team in the district. So I now am program quality director, but I was the club growth and public relations manager. So I put here all the positions. But for example, and I'm going to show you more below, I have example president. At club level, I had many roles. In this case, president, vice president of education, and vice president of membership. So what I did was I put all the roles in the club level in the same place. And I explained here using these symbols from when to when I was the club president. As club president, what was my responsibilities, relevant facts as club president, and I also did the same thing to the other two, vice president of education, and then to vice president of membership. Then below, so this is experience. So these are roles that I performed at club, area, division, and district level. Now, below I have another thing. As volunteer experience, I'm a contributing member because I'm a member of Toastmasters. So, and I only put that as volunteer. Also, I added Toastmasters as education. Education here does not mean that it's higher education. It's education. So any school, any organization that has a continuous process for learning, like Toastmasters, I include it as education. Additionally, I also, where it is the other ones, organizations. In organizations, I included also Toastmasters International. So I have here Toastmasters International, and I say that I'm a proud member of Toastmasters International. Also, I highlight again positions I've held in this situation. I miss here the ones in the core team. But all of these, what makes is your profile relevant when someone will search for a Toastmaster. And they will see that what kind of things you did. Being a member is impressive. Now, looking for leadership roles will give you an additional advantage, because being a member means and if you have, by the way, the certifications, so if you have certifications, you can include it here that you are, for example, Distinguished Toastmaster. And here I changed to International Advanced Leader Silver, instead of only having Advanced Leader Silver, which is something recognized for Toastmasters. But as our recognition is international, if I go to China, people will know if I say to a Toastmaster, I'm an Advanced Leader Silver. They say, oh yeah, I know what is an Advanced Leader Silver. Or if I go to Brazil. So if they understand the context of Toastmasters, so it's important for us to put everything that we did and inside our profile. So by having a leadership role in a club, area, division, or district will help you also, because it means that you are acting as a leader, and a company that knows everything about Toastmasters will know that in a leadership role, you need to be a leader. You cannot be a boss like in a company, because in a company, sometimes people understand that, okay, you are my manager, I need to do what you are saying, otherwise I'm going to be fired. On Toastmasters, people don't care. People are there, they do their speech. If you are a club president, I don't care. Now, if you are a club president and you act as a leader, and you invest your time looking for people, and you use your uniqueness, and you are really, really, really interested in develop the other members, they will see you as a leader. And that's the difference. So in Toastmasters, roles, titles, they don't mean anything. Oh, in Toastmasters and outside Toastmasters, but they don't mean anything. You are not a title. You are you. You are what you do when you are performing the role. So if as a club president, you are a good club president, they will want to follow you. They will want to be also club president, and they want to be, and they will use you as a model. So, more questions. Bye, Fatima. Sorry, I have to go. Francesca Gamicia is saying something here on LinkedIn. I will look at it later. So, does anyone has more questions? Feel free to ask questions. By no means, I'm available. No one?
Thank you, Nelson. Since we are 15 minutes over time, maybe it's better to share your contact details in case someone would like to contact you in person.
Okay, my contact details. Good question. I don't know if I have here that in my slide presentation, but it's easy. I will show you my LinkedIn profile. You have my contact details. So here you have my contact details. You can use them. So better than this, it's difficult. So you can also use my Toastmaster email. You can find me on EasySpeak, for example. But I can in my Toastmaster email, I will write here to everyone in the chat. So send everyone emilio.tm. But if you send to this email that you are seeing on my screen, everything is redirected to, I have two main email blocks, my personal one, general one, and the one for Toastmasters, because I receive a lot of emails from Toastmasters. But feel free to reach out with any questions, anything, ask me opinion on anything that you want. But important, don't forget that you need to live what you are and show that to others. Everything will come up naturally if you do that. So remember also the sentence that I want to finish with this sentence again. I want to show the same sentence, which is this one. Wait, this one. From Maya Angelou, really make people feel special. Make people feel that you care about them, and that will make the difference for sure. So thank you, everyone, and I hope to see you in Milan. Feel free to talk with me if you want there. I'm going to be there on Thursday. So feel free to reach out whenever you want. And thank you again for the opportunity to share this with you.
Thank you, Nelson, so much. It was a great session. You gave a lot of valuable feedback, especially on my LinkedIn profile. Thank you for that.
Oh,
if we have
I didn't, but I can later.
If we have to summarize what we should remember from this session, I would say that we should ask 3 questions. It's very important to ask what we stand for, what makes us different from others, and how it resonates with other people. So let's keep these questions in mind. I would like to thank you again for delivering this webinar and for spending your time and helping us to understand better our personal uniqueness, and also more about LinkedIn. I would like to thank all our fellow Toastmasters from Italy, Greece, Cyprus, especially Julia Costandinidou and Elena Mihail from Cyprus that joined us and were very active in the session with their questions. We will share the recording if it's of good quality, and also you can find the slides. We'll share the slides, or Nelson can upload them on the Google Drive, or I can upload them so you can find the slides there. And our next session, our next webinar is on the 22nd of November. Maria Julia Hack is the next speaker, and the topic is Say It with Facebook. We will learn more on how to improve communication with social media, similar to what we heard today about LinkedIn. Thank you so much. Thank you, Nelson. Bye.
Thank you all, and bye. Have a great evening, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.